Welcome to today's class. Today I'm handling topic 10 of public procurement. And topic 10 is about inventory control, asset and stores management and distribution. So we are assuming you have completed the entire procurement procedure from the time you discovered there is a need. You went ahead and came up with a procurement plan which was in line with the budget. You have sourced for suppliers. You have the necessary method of procurement. Everything has been in place. You have taken the prospective tenderers through the entire procurement process until you got the successful tenderer. So you all know the procurement process by now. From the time a need is identified up to the time you select suppliers, you do open tenders, and then you go ahead and evaluate tenders. You go ahead and get the right supplier. Now you have gotten the successful supplier. You have entered into a contract with them. You have signed the contract. They have agreed to the terms of the contract, and now it is their time to supply. So this topic begins when they have supplied the products in the contract and you have received. So it starts from you receiving. After receiving, of course, you'll take the materials through the inspection to ensure that that is what you had ordered for. And then you take materials through storage. And after the storage, you take materials you issue materials. Remember, a store is a temporal location. You don't store materials for a long period of time. Because if you store materials for a long period of time, you'll incur a lot of costs of storage. You will incur a lot of costs. At the same time, you are tying up capital. That money that you used to buy the materials, you should have used it for something else. So you did not buy materials to just come and dump them in the warehouse or the store. You need to put them there temporarily, and then after a short period of time, take them to the users. Of course, they were required because of the users. There is a user somewhere, whether they are internal users or external users. So from the time you receive materials up to the time you issue the materials, and those which cannot be issued, of course, they will be disposed of. So disposal is our last part of this topic. So after issuing, there are those materials which will remain in the organization. They are not being issued. Maybe they have been overtaken with time. Maybe they have damages. Then what? How do you deal with those materials? Because if you keep storing them, you will keep incurring the cost of storage. So you take them through the disposal process. So this topic, we shall begin from the receiving up to the disposal, where you have disposed of those materials which are unserviceable. They are excess. You cannot be able to use it for any other reason. So you dispose them off using any other method of disposal. So that's what we shall be looking at in this topic. So you will start with why you keep inventory or why you keep stock. You keep stock for 4 or 5 reasons. The first reason is to avoid losses of sales. Every time we want to sell or we are in the business of selling, it means we keep materials to be able to sell them. So if you don't have materials, then it means you will not sell. And if you don't sell, it means you will lose. You will lose sales. So you keep materials or inventory so that you can be able to avoid losses that come because you do not have materials. So to avoid losses of sales. Number 2, to gain quantity discounts. Most times when you buy a lot, you end up getting quantity related discounts. So you buy more, you get more, or you buy more and you get a price which is lower than if you had bought less. So to gain quantity discounts, you keep inventory. Another reason is to reduce the cost of ordering. Every time you place an order, you incur cost. So a person who places one bulk order is better off than a person who places small orders. So it means this person who buys in bulk is able to keep these materials or inventory somewhere in the store because they have bought in bulk. And the advantage of buying in bulk is that you end up reducing the cost of ordering. You will just order or place one large order and be able to reduce other costs of placing small orders to different suppliers. So you achieve lesser ordering costs. And then it also hedges the organization against price fluctuations. All of us understand prices are never stable. So it means that if prices keep on fluctuating, you can take advantage when the prices are low and then you buy a lot. You buy a lot so that when prices increase, you will take advantage and sell during that time. This is what happens to the private sector. So they keep materials to hedge against price fluctuation and many other reasons to achieve efficient production run so that your machines keep on producing. You have a way of producing the materials and then taking them to the store somewhere. If you could not be storing, then what was the need of you producing? So it means if you have a manufacturing organization or you're a private sector, you manufacture and then you keep those materials in the store awaiting supply to the final users or final customers. So to achieve a continuous production run, you need to keep producing and keep them in a warehouse or a store somewhere. So those are some of the reasons you keep inventory. In inventory management, there are three major groups of people involved. One is the accounting officer. Remember that same accounting officer we looked at in previous topics. He is also involved in inventory management. We have the second person is the head of procurement, the head of procurement unit. This person is called different names, maybe in the private sector, but in public sector or in public procurement, there is the head of procurement and then the stores officer. So these three categories of individuals, they work hand in hand in inventory management. Each of them have their own roles to play. So for example, an accounting officer, they do major roles like, let me mention 2 or 3. One, they approve the annual procurement plan and budget. Remember, where there is a procurement plan and budget, there is also a disposal plan and budget. So they do that approval. They also establish a disposal committee. They do what? They prevent wastage and misuse of inventory. They employ inventory management and control software. So they ensure a software is there to manage inventory. They avoid locking up of money or capital in stock. So they ensure there is no overstocking of materials in the organization. They also ensure proper management of inventory, assets, and stores to prevent wastage and losses. So this is an accounting officer. This accounting officer, they play their own role in inventory management. Then if we go to the head of procurement, the head of procurement, they do what? They ensure that the store is arranged and they do visits, occasional visits of inspection. You can just find them walk in any organization and inspect the stores. They ensure materials do not deteriorate. They ensure there is no overstocking. They ensure there is adequate firefighting equipment. And they ensure that materials that were purchased have been received, recorded, and stored. So that is a head of procurement. There is this third category of a stores officer. A stores officer does the day-to-day activities in the store. What are the day-to-day activities? They clean the store, they arrange the materials, they write reports every day, they ensure that the door in the store is locked. They do what? They ensure that materials are properly stored, goods are arranged and preserved. So the day-to-day activities that take place in the store, that is the work of a store officer. They ensure that lights are working. They ensure that the documentation is right. They ensure that there is no smoking in the store. So this day-to-day activity someone can conduct in a store is the work of a stores officer. So be sure to understand what an accounting officer does, what the head of procurement unit does, and what the stores officer does. After that, we go ahead and look at categories of stores. There are different categories. Stores is materials. You be very careful when you are looking at this word stores, because stores, many people understand stores as a physical place. A store is a place where you put things. But in public procurement or in inventory management, stores mean materials. So be very careful when someone asks you about categories of stores. You may not look at it in form of a building, but you look at it in form of materials. So we have permanent items. Of course, permanent items, they're items which have a long life. They last in an organization for a long time. Consumable items are items you use them once and you cannot use them for the second time in their original form. Things like stationery, things like food stuff, fuel, you use them once. They are consumed in the process of production. We call them consumable. And then we have this third category called expendable. Expendable are items which are neither permanent or consumable. They are just in between there. Remember, permanent, they last for a long time. Consumable, you use them immediately. You use them in the course of production or in the course of your day-to-day activities, and you may not reuse them for the same purpose. And then expendable, they are just in between permanent and consumable. So they last, they are in between there. So you cannot classify them as permanent and you cannot classify them as consumable. Things like tools, rulers, staplers, bulbs, all of them are expendable. They are neither permanent nor consumable. So that's one way you can be able to classify items or materials. The second way is you can use administrative and stationery supplies. You can put all stationery in one category. And then number two, you use the shelf life store items. Those items that take less than 5 years, those items that you look at the shelf life. Shelf life is the amount of time an item can be able to be stored, duration of time. Sometimes we call them the dates of expiry. So how long can a product be kept before it expires? That is the shelf life of the item. And then durable items, you put them in their own category. Food stuff and sensitive items, you put them in their own category. And then fuel and lubricants, you can also put them in their own category. And then assets such as stores of capital nature. So there are so many ways you can categorize items. Sometimes we just always ask you to look at the nature of the organization and see which is the most applicable way of storing materials. So after that, you receive materials. Remember, when you receive materials, you record them. You receive as you record. Why are you recording? To ensure you're receiving the right materials, to ensure that the materials you are receiving are the ones you ordered. So there is a process of receiving and then you record. You go straight away and record. Once you have recorded, you now take the materials to the store. You take the materials to the store. Remember, the store is now the physical place where you keep the materials. So once the materials are in the store, you secure them, you lock the materials. You do what? You ensure that only authorized people can be able to enter the store, arrange the materials very well, proper care. These are day-to-day things you do in stores management. And then once you have managed the store, it will reach a time when you have to issue the inventory. Issue is to the users. The users could be internal, the users could be external. So when it comes to the issue, then it means you still have to have proper documentation for you to be able to issue materials. So it takes a long process for you to issue. So other things you have to understand in stores inventory management are stock levels. Stock levels is where the levels you set in the organization so that you do not go above or beyond those levels. There are basically three types of stock levels: the maximum stock level, the minimum stock level, and the reorder level. So if you look at these three levels, there are factors you consider when setting the maximum, setting the minimum, and setting the reorder. So maximum is the maximum you can keep, and it depends with the size of your store. So if the store is big, then it means your maximum can be high. If you have enough money or capital, you can buy more. So those are some factors that make you set the maximum level. What type of item are you dealing with? Is it an item that can be kept in large quantities? Another level is the minimum. The minimum is that level where if you reach it, you are not supposed to go below it. Because if you go below the minimum, you will be understocking. You can run out of stock anytime. So you have to set a level and keep monitoring that level. When you reach exactly that level, you should be able to know, I am now running towards the danger level. The reorder level, it is kept there intentionally between the maximum and the minimum level, so that when the products reach this level, you place an order. It is just an indicator that your products have reached the reorder level. You need to place an order. Remember, if you place an order today, unless everything is okay, you may not get materials immediately. You have to go through the entire process of ordering, and it may take days, sometimes even weeks. So it means you have to place a reorder level in a point where if you place an order, you will take keen interest on the timing of when you will receive that order, so that by the time you're waiting for the order to come, for the new order to come, you'll be using this material that is remaining between the reorder and the minimum level. Once the materials have touched the minimum level, then the new order that you placed at this reorder level should have come, and it takes you back to the maximum. So if you understand those three levels, that is how you go about materials in the stock. So take keen interest of what factors you consider when setting these particular levels. Also remember the documentations used in inventory management. At each stage, what documents do you use when you're receiving materials? What documents do you use during storage? And what documents do you use during issuing of materials? Because documentation in public procurement is very important. Like documents you use during storage and issuing, like it is like a material requisition note, a purchase order, goods received note, goods returned note, stock ledger, bin card. So all those documents, be very keen when you're reading. You understand documents of receiving, documents of storage, and documents of issuing. Something else still in this topic, safety and security of materials. Make sure that your materials are safe and your materials are secure. There are some things you can do to ensure safety and security, like things like fumigation, things like firefighting drills. Ensure water is there for firefighting. Ensure that water is stored exclusively for the use of firefighting. Ensure that the windows are locked. Ensure your store is secure from theft. There are so many things you can use you can put in place to ensure the safety and security of your materials. Employ security guards. Ensure people have protective gear. And one thing you need to note is the difference between safety and security. Security is against theft. Safety is just for the safety of the people and the materials. So things like having firefighting equipment, having protective gear, those are for the safety. And safety, we are looking at safety of materials and safety of the people. So you have to differentiate between safety and security. When you want to know something about security, it's just to prevent theft. And theft could come from two sources. Theft can be within which we normally call pilferation, or theft could be from outside, which is the real theft. So when you put security measures, you are going against theft and pilferation. Theft from within and that from outside the organization. So someone can ask you specific for safety and specific for security. You should be able to notice the difference between safety and security. The last part is now disposal. Once materials are issued, there are those types of materials which remain in the organization. Either we can call them unserviceable, either we can call them excess. You bought in excess and you were not able to sell them. So they are supposed to be disposed of. So once you've finished the issuing process, then the disposal comes in, especially for the materials that have not been issued for whichever reason. There are so many reasons why they may not be issued. So reasons for disposal, and materials that are no longer required due to changes in procedures. They are just occupying space. The materials no longer comply with safety and health standards. These are hazardous materials. Maybe they have stayed in the store for too long. Others have expired. Materials that are beyond repair. All these are reasons for disposal. So all the materials which were not issued, they remained in the store. Look for the reason why they remained in the store, and you need to dispose them off. So you'll have a disposal committee. We normally have a disposal committee that does this work of disposal. If you look at this committee, they come up with a disposal plan. They are the ones who initiate the method of disposal. They select the candidates. They negotiate the disposal. They do what? They nominate the evaluation committees for disposal, and then they dispose of the items. So they have a lot of work. Remember, in disposal, you also need a disposal plan. Just like in procurement, you needed a procurement plan. In disposal, you need a disposal plan. So you come up with a disposal plan the same way you came up with a procurement plan. But now this one is not for procurement, it's for disposal. So once you do that, you follow the disposal procedure. There is a very long disposal procedure there. You can read it briefly and see how it goes. And then once you have followed the disposal procedure, you go ahead and dispose of the item. The last part of this are the methods of disposal. I'll just mention them in 1 minute. The methods of disposal, you can sell by open tendering. You see that open tendering you use for procurement. That is the same open tendering you will use for disposal. So you invite people, you tell them we have an interest. The only difference is now you are selling, you're not buying. So the same open tendering you use for selling, for buying is the same one you employ for selling. You can use public auction. I think most of you have heard about public auction. People say their price as they increase the price, and then the last person to say the price at the fall of the hammer, they get the product. That is public auction. Another way you can dispose is to transfer to another public entity with or without financial adjustment. So it is just as simple as taking this product from entity A to entity B. You can ask for a price adjustment or not, as long as you have transferred. Maybe they need the product more than you. Destruction, there are those items you totally destroy. They cannot be used anywhere else. You destroy them. Things for health and safety reasons, you destroy them. You can donation to a charitable organization, so like Children's Home. That is a way of disposing them. Disposal to employees, you can give to employees, and then you can do waste disposal. Those items that are waste, you dispose them as waste. So those are basic methods you can use during disposal. So you can read through them. They have advantages and disadvantages. So if you understand a method, you can be able to see which product is used for this particular method. Remember, you cannot dispose of every product with every method. Someone will give you a case study and tell you this product is used in this company and it has reached the end of its useful life. Now the company wants to dispose it off. Which is the best method to dispose? So you should be able to look at that product and then suggest, do you sell it? If you sell it, will it give you something? Do you transfer it? Is it something to be destroyed? So you look at the product and then you can be able to suggest the best way of disposing it off, using advantages of that method and disadvantages to be able to dispose it off. So by the time we are done disposal, we shall be done with that particular topic. So that is it for this particular topic.